Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, I am showing you another Tapu Lele. Although this one is very interesting for a number of reasons. So settle down, grab a nice cold beverage, listen up. So a while ago in Japan, in their Sun and Moon 2 Plus set, which most of came out in Burning Shadows for us, this was a little while ago in Japan now, they got this Tapu Lele. And this Tapu Lele is really, really good. The first attack for a single psychic energy does 20 damage for every energy attached to your opponent's active Pokémon. Now the numbers don't actually work out very well here, unfortunately. Fun attack, but if you think about the main psychic attackers, Garbodor generally has 1 energy, so you won't get a KO. If they attach free energy to do Acid Spray, you will though, so something to bear in mind. And then of course, Espeon generally has free energy, so there's 60. At a Choice Band, there's 90. Double for Weakness, there's 180. Still not enough to get a KO, unfortunately. But it's a second attack about which everyone got especially excited. For 1 psychic, 1 colourless energy, you get to just rearrange all the damage counters on your opponent's side of the field. This is immensely good, ladies and gentlemen. It means you can do 150 to a Drampa, and rather than going "Arr" as it retreats to the bench and you don't get a KO, you can just bring up a Tapu Lele, move the 150 around your opponent's side of the board, maybe take some KOs, maybe put everything in KO range. The amount of uses for this Pokemon is absolutely staggering. Now, yesterday on the official Pokemon Twitter in Japan, which I'm a big fan of, I look at that way too often, they revealed this card. And if you notice, it is largely exactly the same. The attacks are clearly the same. The lovely Rappelman TCG, follow him on Facebook, he's great. He did give us a translation of this card, but of course, we don't need a translation of this card, because we already know what it does. It's the same Tapu Lele, but as a fairy type. Now, we did see this Araquanid a couple of days ago, which is just the Sun and Moon Araquanid, but as a grass type, not a water type. And I suggested that this would probably start to become a thing. Go back and watch the video, I promise you it's true. And we didn't have a clear enough picture of the card, but I suggested it probably had a fire weakness as grass Pokemon tend to, and the attack cost was probably a grass double colourless, as would make sense. Well, this Tapu Lele shows us that I was right about Araquanid. This card is exactly the same as the other Tapu Lele. It is an alternate type reprint. 4 things have changed. The typing, the energy cost, because of the typing, it now matches. The weakness has changed to match the typing. And the resistance has changed to match the typing. It's gained a dark resistance. So the attacks now are fairy energy rather than psychic, but other than that, they're the same cost. The weakness is to metal, because that's what fairy are weak to, rather than psychic, because that's what psychic are weak to. And it's gained a resistance to darkness because, well, fairy Pokemon resist darkness Pokemon. Other than that, it's exactly the same. Now, this is incredibly important for 2 reasons. Firstly, it confirms that alternate type reprints are a thing. There is no way that we're getting Araquanid and Tapu Lele and then never getting any others. There was a slim chance, although I didn't believe it myself, that Araquanid would be a one-off and we would never get any other alternate type reprints. But now with Tapu Lele, we know that that is no longer the case. Alternate type reprints are going to be a thing. So as always, ladies and gentlemen, chuck down in the comments ones that you would like to see. My personal favourite would be a water type Golisopod. Although a bunch of people pointed out in my Araquanid video how cool it would be to have a colourless, flying, type Noivern so that it lost the crippling weakness to Gardevoir, as well as gaining colourless rather than really awkward attacks. I would be a big fan of a colourless Noivern. I think that is a wonderful suggestion. Anyway, back to Tapu Lele. One of the issues we've had is that the Psychic-type Tapu Lele was supposed to come out in a pin collection, and it never did. It was slated for release at the same time as Burning Shadows and never actually came out. A bunch of retailers are listing it as coming out on December the 1st. I think that's a placeholder date. Nobody knows why it's delayed. Some people are suggesting maybe the card has been banned, but I don't buy it. Lysander's trump card was banned in Japan and then banned over here. This Tapu Lele is not banned in Japan. It's seeing a lot of play in Japan, it's being used in a lot of decks in Japan, and yet it's not being banned. I do not believe it's banned, and here's what's great. This Fairy Tapu Lele is coming out in Sun and Moon 4+, which we presume, although we don't know, we've had no confirmation, is going to be coming out in our Sun and Moon 5 set, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, which will be our February set. So even if we don't get the Psychic type Tapu Lele, and I happen to believe that we absolutely will at some point, we just don't know when, we will be getting the Fairy type Tapu Lele. So now I suppose we need to ask, is the Fairy type better than, the same as, or worse than the Psychic type Tapu Lele? And just like every question in my A-level business class, the answer is, it depends. So being a Fairy type means that it can be used very easily with Gardevoir. The first attack is very meh here, but we really like the second attack. The second attack uses 2 energy, so we really need a cheaty way, a quicker way to get the second energy onto Tapu Lele. Well, Gardevoir decks work perfectly, because Gardevoir's ability allows you to attach an extra fairy energy to one of your Pokémon. So that means that you can easily get the 2 energy on Tapu Lele. This Tapu Lele would be a great tech in Gardevoir decks. Of course, you lose a bunch with it being a Fairy type. It used to be a really good card in Metagross that would be playing Psychic energy and could accelerate energy using Metagross's ability, but now you would need a Fairy energy. Metagross decks aren't going to play Fairy energy, so if we only get the Fairy type, Metagross decks would be sad. Similarly, in Expanded, and in Japan where they play X and Y onwards and Expanded is still legal, there is no question the Fairy one is much worse, because the Psychic one can use Dimension Valley to attack for a single Psychic energy, which makes it just ridiculous. So it really depends on the deck. Gardevoir decks will love having the Fairy type, but Metagross and Dimension Valley decks are just going to want the Psychic and ignore that the Fairy one ever got released. The fact that it is a Fairy type is of course bad, because the only thing you're hitting for weakness is Dragon, and Dragon Pokemon just aren't big at the moment. I mentioned Noivern earlier, but that's very much a niche deck. No one's really playing Dragon. You're much better off being a Psychic type attacker, although like I've said, you don't actually hit the numbers on Garbodor or Espeon, unless Garbodor sticks free energy on. So actually, this first attack really is just a bit rubbish. Nobody's using it. The weakness turns from Psychic to Metal. This could be good or bad. The good news is that previously, Espeon would just be able to use its first little attack for 1 Psychic energy twice, and then you would go down 60 per time. Okay, fine. You're less vulnerable to Psybeam than you were before. But then again, I think Registeel could be a thing. Registeel does 30 damage and attaches an energy from the discard to one of your bench Pokemon. But it can use either Delmise to do an extra 10 damage, or it can use Regirock to do an extra 10 damage. So 3 in combination there, or a Fighting Fury Belt and 2 of them, and then Registeel is getting a very simple, easy, quick, straightforward one-hit KO onto Tapu Lele, which is of course a bad thing. Although the good news is, it does gain a resistance to darkness, which could be useful if people are playing Yveltal, but honestly, Darkrai's probably going to get a one-hit KO anyway. You've only got 110 HP, so that resistance is not really going to save you for very long at all. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, it depends. I love alternate type reprints. I am a huge fan of alternate type reprints, because here's the thing, if you don't like them, don't play them. Nobody's making you play them, but it opens up more options. This Tapu Lele is going to be a great card because of the second attack. It is probably a 5 Wassy card. I don't think I gave it 5 Wassies first time round. I'll pop a link in the description, you can go check. But seeing the success it's had in Japan, seeing how good it is, even without Dimension Valley, in any deck that can get the 2 energy on there, it's great. So this Fairy type means it can be used in Gardevoir rather than just decks like Metagross. You can use Max Elixir here, it is a basic Pokemon, but that's not 100% reliable, although something to bear in mind if you're playing Max Elixir and either Fairy or Psychic Energy. It means that it can be used in more decks. This has got to be a good thing. But at this stage, we just need to sit and cross our fingers that we actually get both of these Tapu Leles released at some point. Both of the Tapu Leles together as a pair, I'm giving them 5 Wassies. If you don't know how good that second attack is, next time you play a game, just sit and notice how much damage is just sitting on your opponent's side of the field. Every so often, while you're playing, just look at your opponent's side of the field and imagine what would happen if you could move their damage counters from any of their Pokemon to any of their Pokemon, because I assure you there are multiple games where you'll look and go, oh, if I could do that, I'd win right now. That's what Tapu Lele does. It is a meta-changing card. Having 2 types is a little bit redonkulous. Anyway, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. I am actually doing a live stream at 8 PM UK time tonight. It's the first one for a couple of weeks, so make sure you come and join in. It's going to be wonderful. If you want to support the channel and get some bonus podcasts, and we have had a couple of bonus podcasts go up recently, and if I may say so myself, they're pretty good, then check me out at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.